It's always a pleasure to have you join us here on the Big Q, and a warm welcome for this too. Joining me in the studios is the Minister of State in charge of Agriculture at the Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resources, Nsanganira. You're welcome to the studios.
Thank you, Amy.
Now, I realize you have this passion about agriculture and the transformation that it needs in our country. I would love to have you start with that. Just 1 minute, just give us a debrief. What is needed to have transformation of agriculture in our country?
Thank you, Amy. I think it's beyond really a passion. It's also the understanding that it is a very critical sector for the country. So over the last, if I take 10 years, the country has been able to sustain a growth of about 5 to 6%. We've really moved somehow from, a subsistence sector to start with seeing really a commercial and value-creating sector. We want to keep transforming the country, changing lives, improving lives, and we think we're on track.
Now we have one MB Livingstone who sent many questions on Twitter, and I'm very sure he is watching now because he said he really wants to watch and he cannot miss it, and he says how he adores you, and I'm sure he has you as a role model, and he's glad to see you on the Big Q today. And one of his questions, ICT is a driving tool to economic development. Don't you think it's time we introduced a combined agriculture and ICT as a course in higher learning institutions?
I do. I do believe it's very important, and I think in a way this is happening. It is happening in the sense that our ICT strategy already suggests that we higher learning institutions should take that into consideration. Keep really working together with the Minister of Education, with the Minister of ICT, to make sure that ICT continues to be also an important supporting area for the agriculture.
Okay, Dennis Majambere, agriculture intensification requires small-scale farmers to access sustainable markets through establishment of farmers' cooperatives, yet there are few effective cooperatives. What is Minagri doing to speed up this development tool?
Yes, cooperatives are very important. We've been encouraging cooperatives to be formed, and by forming cooperatives, you consolidate their land, and you consolidate the land, and you're able to access services and inputs easily. So the benefits are very clear, but also in terms of how you access markets, because you have really, you are more powerful when you bring your efforts together. So there's no question about the importance of cooperatives. So working very closely with the Ministry of Trade and Industry, which has the cooperative agency under its responsibility, we try as much as we can to keep training and changing mindsets of leaders of cooperatives, because we do believe that cooperatives remain a very important tool for the transformation process we've embarked on. I believe it is possible, and we'll continue working hard on that.
Okay, almost a decade ago, Minagri, all Minister of Agriculture, introduced a program dubbed WPG Luck, and that was meant to ensure that we have local fish production grow in our country. How come we still see a lot of fish imported from neighboring countries? That is Abubakar Ngoga, who wants to know.
Yes, WPG Luck, yes, was introduced back in 2006, and but I would say it took really off sometime in 2009, 2010. So with an ambitious target of reaching 100,000 metric tons of fish in the next 3 years now, we are today at about close to 30,000. We do believe that with the kind of partnerships we are strengthening and others that we are creating, we will get there. And as a ministry, we remain at the disposal of the private sector, but also government in general, to make sure there is the conducive business environment for the private sector to take advantage of the opportunities in the fishing industry.
Earlier on, you talked about agriculture employing as many people in the sector, and MB Livingstone comes back. Honorable, what are we lacking to have more literate youth being involved in agriculture? What needs to be improved?
This is a very interesting question, and I would really want to provide some important statistics. If you look at our universities, over the last 5 years alone, they have released more than 5,000 graduates. And if you look at also the vocational and technical training, the same number really has been achieved over the last 5 years. But still, if you look at how many are employed, you find that very few are employed. So then you ask yourself, what may be the issue? We do believe that the issue is really around matching the supply and the demand of those skills. Matching the demand from the private sector is not enough. People have to create their own jobs, and we encourage young people who have very, very good ideas to transform ideas into business opportunities and then create their own jobs. That's another side of the demand we are talking about. And with that, with all these efforts and others that are coming up, we will see really this transformation happening.
Last one, but of course not the least, just ending on a lighter one. You're one of the youngest members in Rwanda's cabinet, and Karin B wants to know, how did you get there at such a tender age?
Well, I would really want to understand how people define being young.
Okay.
I think in Rwanda it's now very common that young people are given opportunity to serve. And it's a privilege. It's really an honor. You really don't want even to keep thinking, I'm young. Maybe the leaders of the country could have waited for more years. You just want to take up the responsibilities you are given, and we know we are capable. And the future of the country is about really young people taking full ownership of all the transformational programs we have in the country. So I do not really spend time thinking about my age. I rather think about what I can contribute. Sure. And I want, if possible, to be able to inspire other young people to also think that they can play their part, and together for sure, and with the adults and others. In fact, I would even consider myself now as an adult. I'm no longer in this category. I do believe that there is a lot that can be done. And what is important is really to understand that every person is capable of bringing his or her own contribution to the transformation process we've embarked on as a country.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Amy.
And I always want to say thank you for the questions that you contribute to the Big Q. So next on the Big Q, I'm very sure you would love to know, we are hosting the Commissioner General of Rwanda Revenue Authority, Mr. Richard Tusabe. So send your questions on our Twitter handle at RTV English or on Facebook at RTV English still, and we will be able to front your questions and he'll be answering them then.